Growing your own transplants from seed is an incredibly rewarding process. You're in control of the process from start to finish. You can pick when your seeds are started, when your transplants are ready, and control the health of your seedlings all through the process. Add to that the fact that it opens up a whole new world in terms of varietal selections. So rather than being restricted to the couple of varieties that your local garden store might carry, you get the freedom to select from hundreds of different varieties, which is part of the fun of gardening, is trying all these different things. So in the spirit of starting your own seedlings, I wanted to share today 6 steps to seedling success to ensure that when you decide to start your own transplants, you are having the best results possible. So the first thing you want to consider when growing seeds for transplants is your seed starting media. You will have best results when using a growing media that's formulated specifically for seed starting. Basically, all that means is that the media is going to be really well draining, really light, really loose, making it easy for seeds to germinate and grow. So you can do this by making your own. You can go into any local garden center and look for a bag of media that says it's for seed starting. There are a lot of different options out there. Now, everyone has heard from that friend or relative or neighbor about the person who goes out in their garden, digs up their garden soil, throws it in a pot and starts their seeds in that. And sometimes you will have success with that. But if you want guaranteed results, I highly recommend using a seed starting media. The second step to success is water. And the key is getting not too much, not too little, which can be a little daunting when you're starting out. But the best way to gauge this is to thoroughly saturate your planting media before you plant your seeds. Give that time to drain and make sure all of the excess water has run off. Plant your seeds, cover them with a little topsoil, and then wait to water again until the top of your seed starting media is just barely drying out to the touch. Don't wait until your planting media is totally bone dry, because you will kill your seedlings. But also, don't just continually water and water and water and keep that environment super moist and never give it a chance to dry out at all. Because what you are doing is setting yourself up for things like damping off, where the plants just rot away. So finding that happy medium is really important. So a little added bonus tip: after you sow your seeds, use a humidity dome. Now, seeds will germinate even without the help of a humidity dome, but what this does is it keeps that environment warm and moist and perfect for seed germination. So you're going to hasten the germination of your seeds with the use of a humidity dome. Now, you can use a clear plastic dome like this that's specially made to fit seedling trays, but something like clear plastic wrap is going to do the same job. But whatever you use, you want to remove it very shortly after your seedlings germinate, because if you leave it on and allow them to sit in that humid environment with no air circulation, again, you're probably going to end up with seedlings damping off. Now, the third step to success is a grow light. And I talk about this a little more in depth in my video on grow light setups, but I am a big advocate of using grow lights with your seedlings. Some people swear by a sunny windowsill, but if you have tried that and have not had good results, so you end up with weak, leggy seedlings, definitely look into a grow light. You can get single fluorescent bulbs fairly inexpensively, and those will do the trick for starting seedlings. Now, I prefer using the grow lights because it allows me to provide my seedlings with more light than I would be getting this time of year when I'm starting a lot of my seedlings. It also allows me to control the height and the exposure to the light, and just ends up providing a stronger, more vigorous seedling. And this is the use of heat mats. So heat mat is just a mat that you put underneath your seedling flat to provide a small amount of bottom heat. Some folks like to use heat mats on everything. My preference is to use them only on my warm season crops. So things like tomatoes and eggplants and peppers, anything that's going to be planted after the frost-free date. I don't use them with any of my cool season crops because while it would hasten germination of the seeds, I don't want to baby these seedlings too much. So these are crops like broccoli and kale and cauliflower. Then they're going to go out to the garden in the garden soil when it is still quite cool. And I don't want them to get used to this warm, cushy soil environment indoors and then give them this big shock when they're moving outdoors. So I don't use heat mats on the cool season crops for that reason, but the heat mats are incredibly beneficial for heat-loving crops. Step number 5 is a fan. If you are starting seedlings indoors, in your home, in your basement, anywhere other than the outdoors, you are going to want to put a fan on your seedlings. Now, it doesn't have to be much. It can be a small fan set on low, only for a couple hours a day, but that air circulation is so important because what it is doing is helping to strengthen the stems of your seedlings. It's getting them used to the types of things that they would encounter out in the garden. So it's not going to be perfectly still with no breeze once you plant these guys out. So you want to slowly get them used to that air motion. Now you can put your fan on your seedlings from the very beginning. I usually wait till about the time I start to feed them, which is when they're up about an inch or two and have their first set of true leaves. But either way is going to work. The key is just to provide some air movement. And speaking of fertilizer, that is step number 6. The thing to keep in mind with seed starting media is a lot of times it either has no fertilizer in it or a very, very low dosage, and it's not enough to sustain your seedlings as they're growing larger. So as I mentioned, once my seedlings are up about an inch or two and have their first set of true leaves, I start to feed them. And my preferred method is to use a very low ratio, all natural fertilizer. I add it to my water that I'm watering my seedlings with, and I feed them every single time they get watered. Now, this is the product I've been using for the last couple of years, and I've had really good results with this. This is Next Step fertilizer from Gardens Alive. It's specifically formulated for seedlings. You can see it's a very low, it's a 232. And this is enough to nourish the seedlings without giving them this really big artificial boost of growth. And this one's really simple. It's just 2 teaspoons per gallon. So I mix up a whole big vat whenever I'm getting ready to water my seedlings. And then for ease of application, I like to use this measuring cup that's got a spout on it and just very gently give each of my little seedlings here a drink. Now, I don't have a specific amount that I feed them each time. I kind of just eyeball it and saturate the soil. But in general, a 50 cell seedling flat like this will take anywhere from 5 to 6 cups of water each time I water it. And I will continue, like I said, I'll fertilize these each time I water up until about a week or 2 before it's time to plant. Because then I'm going to start the process of hardening off. Now, this is not included in my 6 steps to seedling success, but this is an incredibly, incredibly important step in the growing process. So hardening off is the process of gradually acclimating your seedlings to outdoor conditions. And to do this, you're going to gradually taper off the fertilizer. You're going to be watering them a little less than you normally would, and you're going to start to expose them to the outdoors. The easiest way to do this is just to bring your seedling flats outside in a protected area, ideally starting on an overcast day, and you're going to gradually increase the amount of time that you leave them outside. So the first day, if it's overcast, you can leave them outside a couple hours. The next day, it'll be about 4 hours. The next day, about 5 hours, and so on and so forth over the course of about anywhere from 4 to 5 days to a week of time. The other thing you can do is if you have some kind of an outdoor greenhouse, just take all your flats, put them outside in the greenhouse, leave the door open or the vent open so they're getting some air, and you can just kind of let them sit out there for about a week, and that usually does the trick as well. But if you don't have a greenhouse, if you have a sheltered kind of corner of your house where you can set up a little table, if you have a patio, anywhere where they're not going to be out in just like full gusty wind and blaring sun, because that will destroy your seedlings. And after they've gone through that hardening off process, they are now ready to plant in the garden. So I hope that if you've never tried starting your own transplants, or if you've not had good luck in the past, that you will give it a try this year. And if you find content like this helpful, please consider subscribing to my channel, Growfully with Jenna. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.